because I can't really figure out exactly what I'm doing until I'm doing it, I believe I've made some alterations. I think this is how we're going to mount the radiator in, tucked down and behind the motor, because all the hoses, both for the tranny cooler, spouts down below, and the water inlet and water outlet, or top and bottom, they're all on this side. And we can set up the fans to blow air with the flow of air that's already coming through, which means it would be sucking massive amounts of air straight through it. So this should work out. I even considered looking at just taking those fans and seeing if I can pop them off of this radiator and see if there's a way to just spin the blades around rather than even changing the polarity. Just flip the blade, mount it back on. But I can also just make the blade turn the other way. Well, I don't think they're as efficient. So I think these do have some kind of concavity to their blades. So while it would move air, it wouldn't move air well. Gotta see how it works, gotta try it out. Every time I come out here, I'm looking at it differently. Anyway, I had it all set up here high, and I ended up not liking that. I didn't think that was gonna work great. This way there'll still be plenty of airflow hitting the radiator and blowing through it. It's more than the same distance away from, keep dropping this, sorry about that video. More than far enough away to work out. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do these. I think I might end up making these so that they bolt on. Maybe make a bracket or something that goes around it, clamps it. Because that's permanent down there for the cross member underneath. And they will build the actual bottom little brackets with the rubber grommets down on top. So it's sitting in its original stock thing. And I'm trying to find something that'll work. I found these rubber pieces that fit right through these plates. And they fit right on the top pins of this. So I just got to find a way to put this together on here so that it's removable. Because I don't want it to be permanent. But we shall see. But that means obviously that the exhaust the way it was isn't going to work. So my thoughts on the exhaust are that I'm going to put it in just like it is right there down below. I've got an aluminum heat shield that I'm going to mount between it and the radiator down here. I'm going to have it obviously not sitting on the receiver like it is right now, but somewhere lower. I have this pipe. Probably going to steal some of that pipe in order to do what I want to do, because I got to make a hard 90. I got to cut that flange piece off again. Fun things for me. And then figure out how to hard 90 down, hard 90 back, and hard 90 into there. I may end up going down to the auto shop and seeing what kind of pre-bent tubing they have in this size. And see if I can buy a couple of pieces and just weld them in to make this 390 turn here. If I can raise that thing up, 2 inches or so off the receiver and put it down on some brackets in that spot, and then do a 90 down, a 90 back, and a 90 sweep right into the flange again. And I could have this turn and kick straight out and back and blowing all the exhaust off. And I might even quiet things down a little with the twists and turns. Doubtful, but still. At least this way it would be far enough away and behind the radiator so that the heat from the exhaust would be still blowing back and away. And with the heat shield between them, it should keep it off. Other things we did today, besides figuring out, hopefully mounting this radiator the way we added in our third bar on both sides. Now there's a little triangle here dropping down to the third point. We're gonna figure out putting some plate like we did this angle here on the back side to widen out the place where it bumps in, but it's just tacked in right now. So we're gonna be welding all the way around that and all around down in there between the pipes and all the way around this. So I'll be lifting the frame up and dropping the strut out below so that I can get in behind it with the strut not in the way, and the same thing on that side. And then I went ahead and did end up putting in a crossbar, but in this manner behind the rear seat, because I also want to put in a heat shield, some kind of sheet of something, aluminum, or I don't know, probably aluminum if I can afford it. Some just straight up tin, some sheet metal if need be, for cost effectiveness, but something that can run from here to the bottom of our square cross member / seat mount and tie into the bottom of it, and that will heat shield the back of our seat and keep everything hot from the motor back here in this compartment. But now we're gonna have to figure out running our radiator hose. Probably gonna run one of them down, back along the side here, and to the bottom over there. And I might end up running the other one the same exact way and just coming up the corner here and deeping into it. It's all gonna be with just, straight run of hose, just a roll of hose. And then probably first start out with zip tied in place. And as I determine more permanence, I might put some clamps in to hold it down in specific spots. But I want the radiator to be removable, obviously. But I also want it to be nice and stable and not bouncing around it all back there. Now that it's down, I still have reviewability, which should save me some hassle with officers del the law. So nobody needs to mess with them. All right, well, here's what we did today. I'll probably be back at it some amount tomorrow as well. Definitely, if nothing, at the very least, come out here and fire up the welder and finish all the welding on these 4 pieces that we put in, and hopefully maybe figure out these brackets. Anyway, all welded up, a little bit of ground back to clean it up because it looks kind of chunky. It's one big solid chunk there. This piece will never move and it won't compress side to side now. So I am much happier with the safety of passengers in the back here. And I've got a good place now to mount a heat shield plate running at a slight diagonal from that bar down to the bottom of the seat mount cross member. And we got the third leg all welded in solid and clean. Still got to pull this plate. We're going to drop the struts down and put in a small plate along the back here like we did with these angle iron pieces to give this post a little more to fit in, as well as finish the weld on the inside on both sides. Another thing we did is we got these radiator mounts put in. You can see it's a small piece of steel cut and shaped so that this all is bolt in. Pull the 2 bolts and this pops off and the radiator can come right out of there. But there's how it looks now in the back end. It's just a big old square radiator sticking back at everybody. And the exhaust is, I knocked the tip back a little bit so I can kind of get more of an idea, going for placement somewhere right there about. Laid up in behind this thing. And we've got this heat shield that was with it. So we got to figure out a couple mounts for the muffler itself to be raised up a little bit off the receiver there, and then a couple mounts off the muffler itself so that that heat shield can sit between it and the radiator, and that'll help keep the radiator safe and deflect that heat away from it. And since it's back here in the open air, that should also help to keep things cool enough not to mess with that radiator, even though it's a plastic body. It was, it sits right up next to those manifolds, so it's actually further away from them in this position than it was off of the front one when it was in the van originally, so we should be okay. Looking at either flipping the polarity on those fans on the back of the radiator or pulling the fans off and seeing if there's a way that I can take those blades and turn them around and have them push the right way. But one way or the other, we'll have air pushing from this side through the radiator and out. It's just how well it works. It'd work a whole lot better if I could get them turning the right way with the fans blades concaved in the right way. But either way, we'll have all original, parts in here. It'll be running its standard radiator cooler, or radiator and tranny cooler. Not sure what I'm talking about now. I'm starting to lose my mind. But anyway, it's all sitting nice and solid. Got rubber bouncies there and the original rubber mounty brackets on the bottom welded into that crossbar now down below. Still looking at adding a few other pieces in here. Considering doing a crossbar right here, a little one on each side like that. It'll obviously fit, further up as I grind it out, but it'll probably end up somewhere about up here as a member between this and this. Since it really doesn't actually attach here, I figured if I could get it to attach back, it'd have a little more lateral strength in there. And I think that would work out okay. And since I've got two of them already pretty close to cut, so now I'm gonna have to take off this mount because I'm not gonna use it anymore. But all in all, I am pretty happy with how she's starting to come out. I'm gonna be stopping at the shop and seeing if I can find the 90 to twist that around. I found a couple pieces online, but I'm not sure how much money I want to spend on it. The set I found is 50 bucks and it has two pieces that have all those parts together, but I'd have to kind of cut them up a little bit to get them in there. And I want to see if maybe I can pick up the parts right at the auto shop close by here and just get them done rather than having to order it and having to order twice as much as I want. But it really depends on price. So we shall see. But here's where we're going for. We'll have the radiator and the exhaust hopefully fixed and finished out, and the tranny cooler finished out, and then hopefully we can start moving forward on some other stuff. Got the shifter starting to work out. We've got the linkage over on that side works just like we hope it will. It's a matter of getting all the different solid permanent mounted pieces in the right place. You need to mount that plate over there up so that it doesn't move and just the cable slides, and then we've got a little gold mount right there needs to be locked in permanently so that it doesn't move, and the shifter itself needs to be permanently set. Those three pieces in their place and locked in, then the sheath on the cable doesn't move at all, and it's just the cable inside that shifts back and forth. And we just got to figure out the right length to be able to pull the lever and activate the linkage in the tranny to shift up through the gears and back down through the gears as it moves, because it's all dependent on that length and that stiff cable sheath. So there's a bit of adjustment at the far end, but not a whole lot, so you got to be pretty darn close with where it's at. That's going to be one of the next things, because that's one of the big mechanical connections between this. We have the radiator hooked up, then we've got the battery. We're going to be trying to figure out building some kind of a shelf box down in here where we can mount the battery in a box underneath this rear seat and have the cables all run. So we run from the alternator right here off that point, and that copper wire right there and another one in the back come in and tie into the ground line, and that grounds everything out. And we should be rocking and rolling. It's a whole lot of crazy fun. Well, join me on the adventure and see you next time. Hope you all enjoyed the show.